Hi my dear readers, this is Simona Rich. In this video I'm going to update you about what was going on in my life, and a lot has happened. So finally we have sorted out everything, all the matters about my dad, so I'm able now to freely speak about it, because when I'm in the process of accomplishing something I tend not to speak about it, but since now the matters are finished I'm able to freely talk about it. So basically my mom had the apartment with my dad. My dad originally had his apartment, which was one bed apartment. It was a very small flat, and then my mom moved after marriage to live with him, but it was obviously extremely small. So when we were teenagers, I had enough. I couldn't live in that tiny apartment anymore, and then I started like acting out, and my mom realized that okay, children are experiencing torture, so we all need to move. So then she got mortgage, and we were able to move to a large apartment, which was a 3-bed apartment with large common room. So it was 63 square meter apartment, which was good for a family. And then my father stopped living with us. He moved to live with some other woman, so we were 3 of us living there. We all had rooms to each other. The battery of my camera finished, so I'm going to record it on my smartphone. Hopefully it will record well. So basically then we all had rooms for ourselves, and we really enjoyed living there. But I was already 16, and then when I finished school and I turned 19, I left Lithuania to fly to the UK, and I started living there, and then I moved to India. And my mom was living then with my brother. Then I think firstly my mom left to UK and then my brother, but I may be mistaken. And then that apartment was taken by my father, and he started renting it out. And I was so interested why my mom is not interested in the apartment that mainly she owns, because she was the one buying it and taking mortgage and paying for it for 20 years. Actually, she paid for it because I got it when I was 16, and now I'm 34. Actually 18 years she was paying for that apartment, because only this year she finished paying the mortgage of it. So basically after my father died, which happened this year January, and we weren't close, if you know it, if you watched my other videos, I was the only one staying here in Lithuania, because I came back as a result of my mother's partner in England dying. And then first I went from Nepal. I was then in Nepal when coronavirus started. I left Nepal and I flew to UK, and I made videos about why I had to leave UK. And then I came back to Lithuania, and soon after my father died, and I was the only one staying in this country in his immediate family to deal with everything. So I had to get him cremated and then deal with inheritance matters. So because the apartment originally, the first apartment was his, and my mom took mortgage for this apartment, basically the inheritance would go equally to my mom and dad, but my dad died, so the inheritance, half of it was for my mom, and then the other half should be divided between me, my mom, and my brother. And also my father, previously to marrying my mom, had another family, so to his child of that other family also. So basically I had to deal with these inheritance matters. And in Lithuania, red tape is great. It's huge. So there were many days that I would have to come back from this land to the capital, which is, I needed to take 2 trains, and it was so tiring. But finally we got the apartment sold, because now in Lithuania it's crazy how fast apartments go. So the first people that viewed that apartment loved it, and they actually bought it. So the apartment looked much worse than it was when we were living there, because maybe 6 tenants were living there, one after one, and family tenants and tenants with entire families. So they changed the way that the apartment looked, and it looks much worse than when we lived there. But basically, it's large, it's spacious, and it has good views. So yeah, the first buyers that saw it loved it, and they bought it. So now I'm going to show you that apartment where I lived since the age of 16 to the age of 19 when I moved from there. When I was there, I forgot to take the photo of the house itself, but I was able to get the photo of my block of flats from Google Maps. So this is actually the house where I lived, and this is the inheritance from the Russian occupation. We have such horrible buildings everywhere in Lithuania, but they are mainly in cities, or probably only in cities, and in villages we can see traditional homes, and that were very beautiful and made from wood. But these are the places that the majority of people live. In my country, they're just identical looking, or nearly identical looking blocks of flats, and I believe that's why as a teenager I was so unhappy living in my country, because of these horrible buildings that were built by Russians when they occupied Lithuania. And these buildings are so old, but people keep moving, to live there. And I hope that someday I will see them demolished and something beautiful would be built. But unfortunately, as we are moving into the new world order, probably buildings as such will remain, or they will be a little bit modernized. But I think the whole world will move to embrace this kind of concept of living in blocks of flats. And in India, for example, this is made to look as such an amazing modern way of living, when many people are squeezed into these horrible looking apartments. And of course, as I said, they may look more modern than what you're seeing in this picture, but still, I really don't like living with so many people in one place. You're getting all the energy fields of everyone. And now, as I'm living on my own land, it's just so much more peaceful. So I'm now going to play the video of me just being in the apartment for the last time. And I went there because I needed to I don't even remember why I went there. Oh yeah, I had to clear the cellar, because this home also has cellar. So I was there and I took this video, just the last video of this apartment. I don't know why the tenants put this horrible wallpaper, because we had beautiful white colors everywhere, or pastel colors everywhere in this apartment, but they just made it look so old style. But anyway, so this is the entryway, the corridor. This is a way leading to the kitchen, but I also briefly show bathroom. And this is the kitchen. Again, it's totally empty, and you can see that the apartment looks so old. The balconies are so old. For me, it looks like it can crumble at any time, but it's so in demand. These places are so in demand because they are in the capital, so the view is okay. I mean, I don't like these blocks of flats everywhere, but the view is at least open. Whilst now in Lithuania, buildings are built where the view is just another house, so this is better. It's an open view, and I think that's the reason this apartment got sold so fast. So now I'm going to the living room. So this is the living room. Again, the furniture is so old, but it's been there for around 20 years. So, and again, yeah, these are my sweets. I always buy many sweets. This is the more full view, which is, again, as I said, it's an open view, so it's attractive for buyers, and they really like such views. And now I'm leading you to my room. This was my room. Of course, it was different. Now there are 2 beds here. It was totally different when I lived here, and my painting is still on the wall, and that wardrobe was still there when I lived there, but the wallpaper changed. It was pink before, very light pink. And now I'm leading you to my brother's room, which is, I think, similar to how it was, but there was a bed here too, and now there are 2 tables, and the view is also really good of the forest, but unfortunately of the street also. And this room has this house is sometimes, when it's raining, because it's so old, water seeps through. So again, it's an old house, but yeah, people still love living here for some reason. And you can see a painting. It's actually a painting from Ghana, because one of my best friends living is from Ghana. And this is my mom's room, and again you can see that there are marks because of the rain. And I think before it was also the problem, but now the problem is getting bigger with walls being wet when it's storm, when it's raining heavily. So this is the whole tour of my apartment. I hope you enjoyed it. So now I'm so happy that everything is over, because I had such big responsibility. I was legally acting for 2 more people, for my brother and for my mom. So for example, when I had to go by train to sign the contract for selling the apartment, and were I to forget just one document, then we would again need to wait because of me for maybe a week or 2 to sign contracts. So it was just such big responsibility. It was so scary that were I to forget some document, maybe it wasn't clear enough for me which documents to take. But thankfully I had all the right documents, and we were able to sign the contract, and now the apartment is sold, thanks God. Once we have the money, then I will know if I'm able to build a separate house on this land, and if I am, that would be great. If not, I'm not worried about that, because you probably know that I personally believe that all the entire life for you is already written. What's meant to happen will happen, and so that keeps me at peace. And every experience is good, whether you perceive it to be bad at this moment or not. Every experience enriches your soul, and this world is ruled by God. So everything that you experience is for the enrichment and betterment of you, and eventually it acts as awakening you. So whatever happens, I'm open to that. And so I'm just glad that this part of my life is finished, because I really dislike dealing with the system, and I had to deal a lot with lawyers, and I don't know how they're called. Anyway, legal people, and that wasn't nice, but I did it, and now that part of my life is over. And so this is the main happening, and it took a lot of my energy, a lot of the time of my life, but now it's over. and now I will be able to fully relax on my land. Well, I will need to come back just maybe one more time to once the full payment is made, to hand over the keys and to sign the papers that the buyers already paid all of us in full. And after that, I can just be here on my land, improving this place, focusing on planting and maintaining the gardens. And already my plants are growing, onions, garlic, and strawberries and Brussels sprouts are doing especially well on this land, so I'm happy about it. And my potatoes are now growing. So interesting, I planted them in 4 rows, but 1 row is doing very well and others I don't see almost anything there. So that's interesting, but at least 1 row is doing well. Here I'm sharing the most recent photos that I took today. So these are strawberries. I bought 50 items of them, and they are the ones that will blossom a bit later, and they're doing really well. These are to my Brussels sprouts, and again they're growing really well, but I planted a few more of them, but I don't know if they will be able to grow fully during the summer, but at least I have 2. And these are potatoes. They're doing really well, especially the middle row, but now I see some starting to grow on other rows also, and I planted 2 types of them and I didn't mark clearly, so I think that the one that I bought that was a specific potato for planting, seed potato, it's doing really well in the middle, but the ones that are doing not so well, or maybe they are just potatoes that are supposed to come out later, I think these are the ones that I bought from the supermarket, and they were organic ones if I'm not mistaken. And this is again, I bought, these are the seed potatoes, and I planted them in another place because I bought so many of them because I ordered them online, so I had to buy 5 kg. So I had to find places where to plant them, and I still have them. It's a hard work to make beds. And this is actually my compost. I didn't even finish constructing the compost bin, but I already started making compost. Obviously, I need to throw somewhere the waste, and I don't want to get rid of it from my garden because it's beneficial. So I started kind of like a half-made compost bin, and I threw some potatoes that my neighbors gave. They are the ones that are sweet potatoes, but they're invasive, so I thought I will just get rid of them, but then they started growing in my compost, so I think maybe I should just leave them here. And they are actually quite nice, but you can't eat many of them because they give a upset stomach or gas in the stomach, so I can eat like 1, but it's very tasty. So I thought, okay, if they're growing, I will leave them here. And these are the onions together with garlic, and there are some other things planted here also, but mainly onions and garlic, and these are also doing really well. So these are the main things that are growing in my garden. I have some spices planted and salads, but they're still small, so I just showed you the things that are growing the best now in my garden. And so that's pretty much all I wanted to update you about. There's nothing really more that happened that is new. I just want to now relax because, as I said, a lot of energy was given from me to the legal system, just time and energy, but now I can just be on my own with my dog and enjoy my time on this land and keep working on it, which I really, really love. It feels energizing actually to work with the land, and for me now, compared to 2 years ago, it feels easier to work on the land, and I think that's because I mentally prepared myself for that. And if you haven't watched my other videos, I should tell you in this video too that I found a good spiritual teacher called Mooji, Mooji, who is a spiritual master. He's definitely an enlightened human being. So now I got into the lovely habit of listening to his satsangs when I'm working, not on land, but when I'm working inside my room or when I'm resting, and I just love that. So maybe you will find his satsangs just so peaceful and very insightful, like I do. So I think that's all I wanted to share with you today. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely day. Take care.